Well, it's Bryan, and we're about to do a tour of Wellington, look at some of the places that there have been very intense political battles over. My concern in particular at this time is open space, and so we're going to go down to the south coast. Then we're going to talk to a friend of mine who has a wonderful sense of Wellington's history, a man called Larry Hanna, and we then go to Mount Victoria to look down on the city and talk about the waterfront. And also I think I want to do a small update on Manners Mall, and we'll have a kind of a chat about the local economy. One of the things that's taken place here in Wellington is that there's been a shift of the rating burden from the business community onto the residents, and despite that taking place, the small businesses who rent their premises are under huge pressure from rate increases, and so the moving of the business rates onto the residents hasn't actually provided any relief to a lot of the small businesses, which is rather ironic. And so considering the Chamber of Commerce that has called for and supported the shifting of this wealth from one sector to the other, and effectively what's happened is that wealth has been shifted from the people to the business community in the form of rating relief. So the city is in the middle of a really severe recession now. What took place throughout the rest of New Zealand has now finally reached the capital, and the consequences are quite severe for many people. So we're experiencing unemployment, and businesses are closing. There's lots of shops with to let and to lease, lots of office space. And so the whole scenario that I predicted, really going back as far as 1996 when I started talking about the problem of the cycles of the capitalistic system, how you have boom and bust, and that with the exuberance that we'd experienced on the back of cheap energy, the day of reckoning would come. Well, it's come to Wellington, and we now have elections for local government, and I'm standing for mayor. And so let's just have a little, if you like, snapshot, a small snapshot of Wellington as it is now.
We do really have a problem with councils, where you've got mayors and councillors who seem to think they have the divine right to rule. In fact, they're very uncooperative with their fellow citizens, never listen to them. There's a big problem. There is no social relationship between the average citizen and their representatives. And with this social relationship breaking down, these people get into power, such as mayors and councillors, because of the media. The media manufactures public opinion, and that overrules a lot. And a lot of people think that councils are to do with something that is like a sort of abstract art and doesn't concern them, but it does. It concerns how much money they're paying out. It concerns everything about it. And we've got to realise that if we do not vote, this power is taken away. An elitist group take us over and our finances. Of course, we're under a lot of pressure with the increase in GST, charges for water and transport. So there's quite a few problems we're on. So this election, I'd look at the candidates very carefully. In Wellington, we'll be looking very carefully at the Southern Ward and the mayoral contest. And I like to sort of wish the progressive type of people to stand in all the best. So thank you very much.
So you can't beat Wellington, as they say, on a good day, and here's the other major area of battle. in Wellington's local body politics, and this is waterfront. There's been continuous, if you like, war between council seeking to develop a waterfront and put more buildings on it, and the citizens of Wellington seeking to protect the open space. And most of that has been fronted by Waterfront Watch, a group of people highly dedicated, but certainly I think suffering from battle fatigue. And of course you're only as good as the day, and so this is going to be ongoing. And another really important pieces of open space along the waterfront that we must protect. And of course, as a mayoral candidate, I am totally opposed to any further building on this wonderful part of Wellington, the jewel in the crown of Wellington. And what a beautiful harbour it is. Unfortunately, not enough open space, but there you are. What we do have, we have to actually now fight to protect. Yeah.
Okay, well, good luck. Keep up the good fight.
So we've been doing an update on Manners Mall, and the construction for the buses is now slowed down, and it looks to me like there'll be an overrun in terms of time and cost, and hugely disruptive to the businesses in the area. And this is an $11.5 million project, which is totally unnecessary, and yet it's taking place, and it won't achieve outcomes that are reasonable in terms of the expenditure. In fact, the cost benefits to me seem to be on the negative side so far. We're in a recession in Wellington, and at this time retail rents are incredibly high. They're actually rising, and those retailers who are surviving are getting squeezed. Some people for small spaces pay $50,000, $60,000 a year. Others pay $280,000 for or you just ask, how do they possibly make profit? So the landlords, the property owners, are squeezing the small business and the retailers, and the thing is actually imploding in a rather extraordinary way. It's been on the front page of local newspapers, but for some reason there's a bit of a disconnect between the reality of what you can get for a rental, and what they haven't understood is buildings with no tenants don't have a value. The other part of the equation is, of course, the banks are being happy to loan people, developers and property speculators money to buy property, and of course they've got huge loans which require a lot of funding, and they are being passed on to the community, businesses and so forth, in order to cover those bank loans which have been made on overinflated valuations. The same thing, of course, has happened in the residential property market, and of course the consequences very sad for many people, because we're seeing a rise in mortgagee sales throughout the country. Naturally, products and services have to be high in order to cover the costs of these expensive rentals. Yeah.